Hello, everyone. Welcome today to Celebrity Customer Experience, Riffs with me, Jill Raff, where we riff on anything and everything employee to customer experience, because I guarantee you that your employee experience will be indicative of your customer experience. When you have a connection culture, one that is really based on creating genuine connections and relationships, you can count on your employees delivering that great customer experience, a celebrity customer experience, in fact. So I want to thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your time, which is so important to explore this really critical topic of employee and customer experience and why they're so intrinsically intertwined, why they are inseparable. And particularly today, how tech ties into all of that. I appreciate your time and want you to maximize your time. Join us in the conversation. Comment. I'll be able to see them along the way and add you into our conversation directly onto the screen. If you're watching the replay, please comment, tag me. So that we can, and my guest. And so then that way we can get back and keep the conversation rolling. So thank you. I'm really, really excited to introduce my guest today because I'm super excited to be able to contribute to the Mid-America Restaurant Expo and Conference coming up September 25th and 6th in Columbus, Ohio, and particularly contributing on the track that's called Workforce Solutions and Employee Wellness. So without further ado, Prakash, thank you for joining today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. So Prakash is a restaurateur that will also be speaking at the event. And I'm really honored for you to join me today. Prakash Karamchandani, PK for short. I
You
think we'll
got it.
throughout this episode we'll call you PK, but a beautiful name. It's like poetry, actually. It's really quite nice. I
Thank
don't
you.
want to mess it up. um, so Prakash is the guy who does everything outside of the culinary and operations for a tech forward chain of fast casual restaurants. So that's kind of an interesting twist. I've had chefs on before and other aspects of the business. So he is the CEO and co-founder of Balance Grille. Prakash is self-proclaimed foodie and technology junkie who co-founded Balance Pan Asian Grill, a nationally acclaimed fast casual Asian fusion multi-unit concept in Ohio. PK oversees development and finance, as well as leads the brand's marketing and technology innovation efforts. Since starting his venture in 2010, Prakash has been recognized as 2022's most influential restaurant CEO. Fantastic. Top 24 fast casual executives from 2016 to 2022, and a 20 under 40 recipient. Congratulations. It's all fantastic. And is known as the thought leader in the fast casual restaurant technology spaces, having spoken to multiple industry events. In addition to meeting his co-founder at the University of Toledo, Prakash met his wife and is a father of two. Fantastic. Wow, what a treat to have you today. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
hmm So let's start, Prakash, for people to kind of understand who you are, a little bit about your journey, your backstory, and what brought you into the world of restaurants.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a twist. I initially had started going to college for pre-med. That's kind of what every Indian American family wants you to do. And I got into med school and then went back to my parents and told them, this really just isn't for me. And luckily, my mom's a CPA, so she told me to go get a degree in finance. And at the time, ever since a young age, I was in technology. My dad got me my first job doing tech stuff at like 14. So I've had a lot of experience with it and paid my way through college that way. And when I graduated in 2008, that's what my parents assumed I would do, that being the height of the Depression. But I had a good friend of mine from college, and he had this idea about restaurants, Asian ingredients, but kind of from all over Asia, a little bit more fusion, a little more health focused. And I really got behind it, and I decided to start this restaurant with him. We didn't really have a lot of other career opportunities, at least using our degree, graduating with finance and business degrees in 2008. And so
Mm.
I just thought it was something fun to do, and I really fell in love with it. I continued to do IT as, I would say, my main career until 2015. So a full 5 years into the restaurant. It was kind of my side thing, and I was mainly focused on doing tech. But once my wife and I had our first child, I kind of had to make a decision on where I wanted to go with my career. And I truly do love the restaurant industry, and so I decided to double down and stay focused on the restaurant.
And any regrets? Are you excited? I mean, it's been a whirlwind, right? Like, are you happy with that choice?
I'm definitely happy with the choice. It is it's a true blessing to kind of go to work with people I consider to be friends, and
Mm.
have one of my best friends as my business partner. I see him every day. It's a good time. It is definitely a grind. As my college instructor once told me, like, going into business is like going into war. And if you're the guy going into the restaurant industry, you're the crazy guy out on the battlefield running across with a grenade, and you don't know if you have to pin in or out. And that quote has always stuck with me, because you've kind of got to be a little bit crazy to get into the industry, because it is truly a grind. But if you love it and you love to feed people and you love the people
Mhm.
you work with, it really is just, it's enjoyable and a lot more fun than sitting in a dark corner doing tech stuff.
Yeah, totally different. It's very interesting. You've got both sides of you going there. Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. I'm very visual, so as you describe that battlefield, it's like you're the front line and you're the first person out and everything. But I love what you just said. You actually just proved and reinforced what I mentioned about connection culture, about being there every day, creating that culture where you have those genuine relationships with the people that you work for, that you work with, and together with your partner, but also for all those people who show up for you every single day. And I think that makes a huge
Absolutely.
difference. Yeah. So, Prakash, what are do you see as some of the pressing problems right now in the workplace that kind of led you to focus? Because you mentioned your tech background and how you tied it in. So you've brought the tech world into the restaurant industry and into your restaurant, really showing how that's helpful. What problems did you see that you felt there was a need to kind of merge those two?
Um, you know, I kind of take this technology a first approach to solving all problems. I think almost all problems can be solved with technology in some way. Most problems are the result of communication or standards or policies or protocol, all of which can be systematized. And I kind of view training like building software. It's just, using humans instead of ones and zeros. And um,
I like
the
that.
hardware is your build out. It is the physical facility, and they both have to work together. There's certain advancement that you can make in your training or your software until you have to make hardware improvements. So that's kind of the way I look at it, and try to approach either problems and have a technology solution for it, or
Mhm.
view problems that require a human solution and still approach it like programming.
Hmm. And how no, I think a lot of people think about, well, if you're bringing tech in, and we'll talk later about like kiosks and those things. But I remember the first time that I saw kiosks, I was actually at a McDonald's in London, and I thought, "Oh my gosh, here we go. It's the beginning of the end." There goes the end of the human interaction. Like, how does a customer have yes, the customer experience, it's still a customer experience, but it's a different experience. But for me, in my upbringing, my growing up actually in McDonald's, uh, in the day where there wasn't any of this, I'm so I recognize the importance of that human connection and that
Mhm.
interaction between people because yes, you get speed, but at the end of the day, if it's only about speed and it's only about, that kind of non-human touch, then I think you lose some of your competitive edge over other restaurants because then anybody could do that. And I think what makes us unique and what keeps that human element is going to give us that competitive edge. Keep what's going to make us different from anyone else and set us apart is going to be how do we interweave the human element into that. You know, I think COVID really highlighted this, right? The pandemic, where everyone's just craving that human touch. And you did a really great job. So talk to us a little bit about how you developed. You had told me in our pre-call conversation that you developed a lot of the EX, the employee experience, and the CX, really focusing on your customer experience even before it happened. And so you were really set up and in place. You were ready for anything that happened. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I do think I want to say I think we lucked out. I think technology was the solution that everybody adapted to for COVID in order to create a separation, a 6 foot separation in a restaurant industry that is heavily dependent on that customer and employee interaction, that relationship, right? And how do
Mhm.
you maintain that experience for customers? I think for us, I've always chased customer feedback and trying to understand our customers' mindset and how they interact with the
Mm,
brand. We have always had a subset of customers. See, we offer really healthy food and it's great, and we also do it fast, and we kind of have this modern environment, and people love to come and have a business meeting. But that same customer, like yourself, maybe Jill, you might have just gone to the gym, and you come out and you're a little sweaty and just want to get your balanced meal and get in and out and minimize the human interaction to an extent. When we used to take orders with customer service reps who would operate a POS, there was always customers in the line who didn't know much about the brand and needed a little more hand holding and a little more of that experience. And then there was people right behind them that was like, I know exactly what I want to order. This is going to be 30 seconds. And so we invested a lot in technology early on, mainly through a mobile app. We didn't roll out kiosks until after COVID mainstream, as we looked at reopening. But the app, we developed our own white label app and rolled that out in 2017. It was immediately popular for the reasons I just told you. Even if
mm,
um, somebody wanted to order for dine in or was bringing somebody new, maybe they would just order by waiting in line. But that exact same customer on a different day in a different situation, different interaction time and point, they would use the app for quick and
mm,
easy takeout. um, we had started developing certain features into the app, what we called at the time digital drive-through, but ended up being curbside, as everybody knows of it now, um, to allow for delivery to the parking lot using numbered spaces and deep integration into the app for geofencing, Bluetooth, things like that for recognition of who's in what spot. So we kind of had those features. We were prototyping them, didn't really roll them out, didn't know how to convince customers this is something you should do. And then boom, we got hit with the pandemic and we're like, this is kind of awesome, actually.
amazing.
I mean, day one, we were scared just like everybody else. We had well researched the pandemic and we were prepared for it. We had a level 1, 2, and 3 response plan in place. We actually shut down our restaurants and dining rooms prior to any type of
Mm,
government ordinance, but we
mm,
did that with the comfort of knowing we had the app. We had certain curbside features that we continue to develop through the pandemic and have really refined. Um, and then we stayed open all the way through it, and we did that for a sense of normalcy. Kind of looping back to your very initial point, both for our customers and our employees.
mhm,
Food is just one of those unique things where you create this product that people put into their bodies and they feel, they eat it, it's like a multi-sensory experience, and it does ground people. People come back to restaurants for the same emotional feeling that
mm,
they had at one point and they're looking to recreate it. That's why consistency is so important. And then when you go into this pandemic where everybody is grasping for a sense of normalcy, just trying to, waking up every day hearing some crazy news, that it's like out of a
oh my
movie.
gosh,
Um,
right?
we
Yeah.
just have this amazing opportunity to be that sense of normalcy for our community, and
Mm,
that was really important to us. So,
wow. So much you said. That was great. Thank you. A couple things that really resonated with me that I wanna highlight and make sure people didn't miss with all that goodness. Um, you said you love getting the customer feedback and that you really listen. And again, you said to me earlier on that you would hear customers saying, like, we just need a faster way to order. And you heard that, you asked the right questions, you got the answer, and you didn't just take the answer, but then you put it into action and you found a solution for that. And so this app, in doing so, the second thing that's super important in anything in life, but particularly now we're talking about the restaurant industry, is not waiting and reacting to something to happen, but be prepared in advance. Go ahead and create. Ask your employees what they need. Ask your customers what they want. And then take action on that in advance so that you're really ready in advance. Like you were set up to just roll where everyone else is trying to figure it out. And you were like, oh, now the customer finally figured it out. We've got it figured out for you. And it was so much smoother. So, if we can think proactively and not react, true in life, right? That you're going to be set up for whatever comes, because as you pointed out, like there's so many things going on right now in this world we don't know. So all we can do is get feedback, and that's so important. I think so often we get caught up in the grind and forget to take the time to have those conversations, which are really crucial. Um, so I'm curious, we talked about, some of the issues that was happening, and what consequences do you think you're seeing as a result of all these struggles that are happening? Like, how do you see the businesses adapting, and are they adapting? Like, what are the consequences as a result? I mean, I guess you can touch on, well, I wanted to get to that later, but we can go into that now, actually. One of the consequences, of course, is staffing. But beyond that, what else do you see as consequences? And then we'll circle back to that.
I think you do have to adapt in order to survive. And I've always approached business that way, specifically the restaurant industry. Again, getting feedback from mentors, former professors, stuff like that. They've always told me it's a battle, it's a war, and being adaptive um, is your only means of survival. So
Mm,
the consequences are you see a slew of restaurants going out of business because they fail to adapt to current market conditions, and it is difficult. And you see a high concentration of them right now because I think what COVID really did, if you zoom out, was take like 7 to 10 years of restaurant
mm,
industry evolution and compact it into 2 years. And so, if you were able to adapt at that pace, you survived or you thrived. And then, if
mm.
you are slow to adapt, if you are reactive, it's going to put you out of business or close to it. So it's a challenge.
Yeah, it's hard enough as it is, even without pandemic situations or now other economic factors tying in there. Um, so that's good advice, and really staying ahead, thinking ahead. Um, So, as we all know, any customer who's been out to eat recognizes that we have a very serious problem with our staffing. Half, people are like, "Well, you've got half. I'll look at all those tables that are open. How come I can't sit down there?" Well, because you have no one to serve you, right? And any across any industry, actually, we all, I think, have felt the problem. Yesterday, I went to Office Depot to pick up some things, and the woman said, we have 3 people in the entire store, and it's a huge store, right? You know those. And one of them's in a meeting, and one was over in the print section. I mean, and she was just juggling. I said to her, "I am so impressed. Like, I appreciate you. Don't worry. Like, relax." She had 3 people going, 3 different people at 3 different spots. Like, she knew how to juggle, how to make it happen. Other than, having to avoid that kind of situation where you're stressing out your employees and you're stressing out your customers because of the environment, my solution is thinking that you want to be the employer of choice. Enter Prakash, because you are the employer of choice. And I believe the way to do that is through your company culture, is through really creating an environment that people want to be a part of, where word gets out. And you have done that. When, our first conversation, one of the first things you said to me is, we are focused on growth and we have no hiring or retainment issue. We have a strong demand of applicants. So, good Lord, take the mic. Let people know how you do it because this is what everybody needs to hear.
For sure. I think from just a very macro view, it comes down to worldview, view on how you approach business, how you approach employees. I think so many employers get caught into the trap of viewing employees as an expense when really they're an
Mm,
asset. They require investment, continuous investment of time and resources and training. And that is intrinsic to the way that we approach employment. We do create opportunity, but we view it as a platform of opportunity. We don't leave advancement to the whim and choice or direction of a manager, for example. And I think listening to your employees and incorporating that feedback, we do annual updates, semi-annual updates, take their feedback, employ it into our employment practices, and continue to evolve and stay in touch with what it is that employees are looking for out of their employment experience. Because it is a lot easier to take care of like 150 or 200 people than the thousands of customers that come into our door. And if you just take care of them,
mhm.
you'll be good. They'll take care of your customers.
That is brilliant. I love that. It's much easier to take care of your 100, whatever, even if you have multiple locations, right? Even if that number's larger, much easier than the amount of customers that you need to keep yourself afloat. That's a beautiful, perfect way to look at it, and I hope everyone really heard that. Uh, Also in doing so, you had mentioned about living wage. This has
Mhm.
also been a national discussion. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think the restaurant industry gets maybe a fair, maybe an unfair amount of attention when it comes to a conversation around living wage. I think the entire service industry does. And the reality is, we're a service economy and we run a business. We have an obligation to our employees to provide a living wage. It is, anything below that is exploitation. That's what it is. And that's our view, is that we want to make sure that people are taken care of. And it makes me proud to see that our employees go out and get cars and get houses, and we're involved in that process, and they're growing and achieving their personal goals, and then they're able to turn around and help us achieve our professional goals, which is great.
Mm, yeah, I love it. Really, really important in that view. And another thing you had mentioned about that your employees today, they are demanding the workplace culture. I keep wanting to come back to, and we keep touching on naturally culture through
Mhm.
everything that you do and that you've said. Um, that it's something that they need, they demand. It's really important. It cannot be ignored today. This is, I think, a big problem why we're having this staffing problem. And that you had mentioned, like, they don't want to be dragged into meetings. They want their autonomy. Like, they
Mhm.
want to feel like they're a part of what's going on. So what are some of the ways that you've done that you feel we talked about a few different things where you really get that the importance of EX focus will lead to great CX. And my which I love, of course, because that's my brand, EX to CX. But what are some of the ways that you implement some of these core values? Like we talked about communication and how you do communication. So, for me, I'm also a licensed real estate agent. And in real estate, they talk about location, location, location. Well, for me, when I'm asked what are the best ways to improve EX and CX, to me, those three are communication, communication, communication. So, tell us a little bit about what you do in your concepts in your restaurants so that you can keep everybody tied together and feeling that connectedness.
Yeah, culture, I will say, is driven by employees. It's shaped by the employer. So our job is to shape it and to make it, a healthy, productive environment that ends up serving our customers. But everything beyond that is really the employees that you choose to welcome into your brand, and the type of culture that they want and create and they own, then they have a sense of ownership over it.
Mm,
Communication is incredibly important. Business, I view, as nothing more than communication and problem solving. If you have
mhm,
those two skills, you're in a great spot. To that extent, we have kind of mobile applications for everything because it's easier to put work on employees' phones than to take employees away from their phones and put them towards work. So
Wait, slow down.
uh,
Say that again. That was really good.
it's
That's
a
a big one.
yeah, it's a lot easier to just put work on employees' phones than to try and tell them, you can't use your phone when you're on the clock or whatever. Just put it there. So for that factors into a number of different things. We've got an app for scheduling, and that keeps the problem solving away from the communication because those are two different kind of verticals. Then we have a communication platform, cloud-based, team-based. It's called Slack, is what we use, but there's tons of other ones that are out there. They have it's that space is exploding, and Slack's kind of an old dog in that game. But we've also been using it for a long time since 2013, mostly when like niche tech companies were using it. And we've done a number of integrations. We bring in all of our social media posts, all of our Yelp reviews, our Google reviews, our in-app reviews, all flow into the app and they're publicly viewable within our employee pool. And so they're able to see by location what the reviews are, and there's a huge number of them. I mean, per service per day, you're 15, 20, 25 active live customer feedback reports of exactly what their
That's
experience is like.
great.
And that's super important because you have to keep employees in the understanding that we as the employer, as the business owner, or as the brand, we work for our customers, and
Mhm.
in turn, our employees work for our customers. They don't work for us. We're just stewards, and um, to that extent, the more of a direct connection that you can create, the better overall culture that you'll have. And then there's spaces for other stuff. We talk through. We have another app for training, and we do discuss training. We discuss certain leadership level stuff within Slack, but most of it is honestly a fun environment. We do some general announcements and stuff like that. We've got a random channel. It's just full of memes and funny stuff. And it's just a great place for people to connect. I mean, most people who are going to work in our restaurants grew up with social media, and so they kind of view it as our internal social media. They have the
Mm,
ability to direct message anybody in the company. It creates this uniform, uh, flat scape where everybody has a voice.
mm. I love that. So a couple things you said, and they're parallel really. And before you were talking about with culture, and correct me if I'm wrong, you said that the employees create the culture and it's
Mhm.
the leadership that shapes it, which was very interesting. And then you just said now too that um, in terms of the channel and the communication, that it's your employees again who are the ones that the owners are stewarding it, but it was the employees who create it.
Mhm.
So look at I just really wanna highlight that I love this so much. I mean, you are just exuding how empowered you're making your employees, how they really are a part of they are the leaders, every one of them at every level. I always talk about creating leaders at every level, and this is why you don't have a hiring or retainment problem because you are super hyper focused on your people and empowering them and making them responsible and accountable and bringing them in, bringing their ideas in. So then it's easy for them to want to be responsible and accountable towards that. And I think just so many owners and founders and leadership just miss that. I mean, to me, and I'm sure to you, it seems like such common sense, right? And yet, look at all the people who are having all these problems. What would you say to them? What would you kind of just in a nugget tell them? Um, what do you think that can be something simple that they can implement right now to to change that, to make that shift?
I mean, I appreciate the compliment, but just sit down and have a real conversation with your frontline employees, the ones that are making it happen every day for your customers, and ask them what their experience is like and how you can make it better. And I know I came up under the school of thought of servant leadership. So all of
Mm.
our organization is set up as layers of support for them. And if you're disconnected from that, you're really disconnected from your business.
Yeah, and your customers, right? And if you're
Mhm.
disconnected from your customers, it's all over for sure. Yeah. That's a great parting thought and idea. Thank you. I love it. I'm really looking forward to seeing you again in Ohio and having more conversations. So much of what you are doing in practice, you're a model of EX to CX business, and very much aligned with the values and the teachings and what I'm so excited about speaking about at the conference. And I don't know what topic you're going to be speaking about, but I assume it's something, or would it be tech related? I'm guessing.
I'm guessing that's usually where they stick me, but
Oh, you don't know
I'm
yet?
happy. I'm sure it's somewhere in my email. I'm gonna
Yeah.
review it 2 weeks before the conference. I'm just being honest with you. That's how I work. I don't know.
Yeah, that's cool. You got a lot on your plate, no pun intended, but yes, indeed. Um, yes, well, you are a perfect example of creating the environment. You have become the employer of choice. And I really thank you for sharing all of your insights, your wisdom. If anyone wants to get in touch today, be sure, first of all, to check out the restaurant, balancegrill.com, just like it sounds, except grill is Grille. So Balance Grill with an E at the end. And if you want to reach out to Prakash directly, here is his LinkedIn address. Um, and it's P and then his last name, Karamchandani. And you can just start to spell some of those letters and it'll pop up for you. So that'll make it easy. Um, so, Prakash, thank you so much again for joining today and sharing really so much great insight and wisdom and great practical, real tips that people can apply to their businesses starting right this minute to see tangible differences. So, thank you for joining, and I look forward to seeing you soon in Ohio.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. So everyone, thanks for joining. I'm going to say goodbye, and thanks for joining today. And we will see you again next week. To more great experiences, go out, create great experiences, create those great connections.